live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. And today I have a good topic for you, and it's what do you get with VAWA and how do you get it? So, usually when we're talking about VAWA, a lot of people don't know what VAWA is, right? Under immigration law, VAWA is called the Violence Against Women's Act. Even though, let me add, that is not just for women, it's for men, it's for all genders. If you're in a qualifying relationship, or a family relationship, parent child, or spousal relationship, and you're experiencing certain conditions, you can apply for VAWA to get immigration relief. Immigration relief means that you're going to be able to get your status here in the United States, your work permit, as well as a path to permanent residence. So, and you can also get this for your children who are under 21 and unmarried as well. So, it's an important form of relief that you should know about. And even while you're waiting for VAWA to be approved, you can get these kinds of benefits. So, the work permit, you can get certain state benefits as well. So at some point during the process, they do release what's called sort of like a pre-approval letter. It's called a prima facie determination letter. And in some states, not all, it depends on state law, you're able to then obtain state assistance or federal assistance like Medicaid. You'd be able to get food assistance as well as housing should you need it. So this does open up a pathway for individuals to be able to get relief when they're in a tough situation. So let me explain what this tough situation is. So VAWA is the Violence Against Women's Act, but it is for everyone, not just for women, but men as well, and other genders. So whatever gender you identify with, that's not the focus of this. It's what's happening in your qualifying relationship. Are you being mistreated by U.S. Are you being mistreated by a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident spouse, a parent if you're under 21, and in some cases if you're under 25, or by a U.S. citizen, son or daughter who's 21 and up. If you are in this kind of relationship, parent child or the spousal relationship, and they're mistreating you, the US citizen or the legal permanent resident, this is the type of relief that you are able to get. The next question though is, well, I know I'm not being treated nicely. I know I'm being mistreated, but how do I prove that? They never hit me, they never physically violated me. So how can you prove that? And the rule with this type of application for relief is that any credible evidence counts. That means any believable evidence is going to be acceptable. But that's also why it's very important to present a consistent, thorough application that provides the officer with that kind of insight to understand that you qualify, that this is credible, the evidence that you've provided is credible, and that you qualify. Evidence can include your declaration, which is your statement. If you present your statement, and this is what we do, and you present it correctly, you're able to, an officer is able to then evaluate the statement, evaluate based on the contents of your statement, whether you meet the requirements. And if it's credible, they will accept it as evidence. Other requirements is that, they also want you to prove that you yourself, you're a person of good moral character. And this usually means presenting your background check. That's what we do for our clients. But even if you do have, say you yourself have maybe a conviction or an arrest in your background, it doesn't mean that you are disqualified from showing your good moral character. They want to see good moral character in the past few years. However, if you don't have good moral character, or the offense somehow is contrary to a finding of good moral character, then what they can do is they can always go ahead and you can apply for a waiver. The waiver would be able to allow them to forgive it if it's approved. So there are still pathways to getting this kind of relief, even if you yourself you have any past immigration violations or arrest. So you should not let it stop you from going ahead and determining whether you qualify for this and moving forward, because it's important. You deserve to be able to not have to be afraid living in the United States. You deserve to get the help you need. No one deserves to be left out in the cold when you have this form of relief. So um, how do you get it? Right. So I explained what do you get with VAWA. So you get your work permit, your travel document in some cases, and this can happen if you're out of status as well. So don't, if you already overstayed, that's okay. If you cross the border without permission, then you could still qualify for this. The process to get the VAWA approval is taking about 2.5 years. So it's 2 to 2.5 years for the entire process from beginning to get to the permanent residence. But while you are waiting, you can still get the forms of relief that I talked about, which would be the work permit, the travel document, your social security number, and this can allow you to be stable while you wait for that final approval. So, how do you get it? You do have to submit specific forms. So there is the petition, and then we also, while we're filing for the petition, we also apply for our clients' work permit, their travel document, and their permanent residence all at the same time, should they qualify. Most individuals at this time do qualify, but there are cases where the petition needs to be filed first. Another important benefit of this is that if you're here with your children, or if your children are outside of the United States and they're under 21 and unmarried, you would be able to still, they would qualify to get this relief with you without filing a separate petition for the kids. And so you want to make sure that you jump on that. So if your spouse, if your parent is not looking out for you, or if your citizen child isn't looking out for you, and your kids, that you can look out for yourself as well as your kids. Thanks so much. Thank you so much. I decided to wear a bright color today. All right, so now I'm taking questions. Go ahead and put those questions in the comments so I can answer your questions. I do see a few on Instagram, so I'm going to go ahead and answer those. Hi, how long does it take for a work permit to be approved? It could be anywhere. So I did have a record breaker, which came in like 2.5 weeks. That was great, great. But usually we're seeing now in marriage-based family, it's going anywhere from 3 months to 8 months. And in VAWA cases, it's going anywhere from 6 months to 12 months. And in employment, employment-based adjustment of status, it's taking anywhere from a month to 3 months to get that work permit. How long does it take for marriage-based to be approved? So if you file the petition, it takes about a year. And then after that, the interview. So you're looking at a 1.5 years to 18 months. If you're outside of the US, if you're in the US, you're looking at about 5 months to a year. And I just want to caution you here that, how long it takes also depends on how good is your application. Because based on my experience and observing other individuals who then have to come to me later on, it's usually the ones where they submitted the application on their own and they didn't really understand how to present it properly. It's usually those that take the longest. Usually, when you present all the information they need in an organized way, the officer has everything they need in front of them to make a decision without those unnecessary delays. So that's all the more reason to make sure that you are represented and that you invest in yourself and the process to get it right the first time. Because the less you know about it, and then the worse the application looks. Maybe it's missing something, maybe you didn't put a piece of evidence that's required in there. You're going to be looking at a longer time than just a year, but you could go to 2 years even if you're in the US. All right. Yep, yep. So, I'm keeping you on your toes. So the time is usually noon. So I'm actually on time today. So I don't do it at 4 p.m. anymore. I'm doing it at noon. And this is because, as things change in my schedule, I have to make adjustments. So it's been a very busy time. And I had to take a break just to make sure that I put my clients first, made sure that their needs were met and that they got the results that they deserved. And so now the best time is lunchtime because then I know I can have this time to talk to you. And I'm hoping this is your lunchtime too. So my husband is an American citizen and I'm outside the US. How long does the I-130 take to be approved? And can I apply for a visitor's visa? So it's taking about 12 months on average. So 11 to 12 months to get that approval. Could be less, could be more. Remember that this is just an estimation based on my observations. Can you get the visitor's visa? You are going to have a uphill battle because usually especially in these situations where it's expected to be a year and a half to 2 year process, the officer is going to say clearly you have immigrant intent, and in a short time you will be moving to the United States. So I'm not going to give you the visitor's visa, right? Because the whole purpose when the officer is reviewing your visa application, their only goal is to see if you have immigrant intent and to deny you if you have immigrant intent. Immigrant intent means you intend to come to the United States to live. And so by having an I-130, you are showing that you do have that intent. So when you go to you can always try. And now keep in mind that I'm not telling you to go do anything until you get legal advice and representation. Um, but generally speaking, you can apply for this. However, you have to make sure you really bring your A game to show why they would give you the visitor's visa. Why is it that you will not stay in the United States or overstay in the United States with a pending I-130? My parents sponsor me, so that's up 8 months, 8 months for the permit. So, I don't know what your situation is, but how long it's taking also depends on that. Can you speak about the domestic spouse process? So I think you maybe, it sounds like this VAWA. So I don't know if this is related to domestic violence, but I did speak about it previously, but you apply for this based on VAWA. VAWA, where if your spouse is mistreating you, this could be verbal, this could be emotional, then you would be able to apply for your relief. You would get your work permit, your travel document, and a path to permanent residence. The process is about 2 to 2.5 years. Now, if you're talking about, I don't know if you're also referring to common law marriage. There is a process for VAWA, but your marriage does have to be legally recognized in the country. If you have a common law marriage, it has to be legally recognized in the place where you reside with your spouse. And family-based for children under 21, green card, what time frame are you seeing with your cases? So the same, 18 to 24 months if the children are under 21 and unmarried. Oh, thanks so much. I missed you all too, but I have been doing this for I think the past week now. So I'm back and we can spend the Christmas season together. I had filed for a marriage visa for my wife, but she doesn't live here in the United States. Yep. So that's right. You can file for your spouse while they're outside of the United States. You have to first go through the petition process. And then once the petition is approved, they send it to the National Visa Center. The National Visa Center will then schedule, correspond. So they correspond with me usually. And I provide them all the documents, submit additional application and the affidavit of support, and from there, they schedule the interview once it's complete. The NVC is that part that you have to be very careful about because one mistake can mean add 3 more months to your process. So when I am working for my clients, that's what I'm very, very privy of. Because this is the way you avoid unnecessary delays, is to present all the information that's required and acceptable documents, because you can't just present any old documents to the NVC or they will reject it. What's the cutoff age for a stepfather to file for his spouse's child? So the child has to be under 21. And keep in mind, for stepfather, the child has to be under 21, but the child would have also had to be under 18 at the time that the stepfather married the parent of the child. So that there's that additional requirement there. All right. Okay, so keep those questions coming. In the meantime, while I wait for your questions, go ahead and make sure that you schedule your consultation. The information that I'm giving you today is not personalized legal advice, and this is where the consultation comes in. It's important to be able to state your particular circumstances and get legal advice based on that, because otherwise it can get messy if you do anything that you may not have qualified for. So that's what I am here to do, is assist my clients throughout their process. So we advise in the consultation, and then we move forward. Should the client qualify to be represented, we move forward from there. How long does it take after vacation application? So I'm not sure what the vacation application is. Can you clarify? Is that the B1, B2? I'm not sure. Oh, okay. How long does it take after the VAWA application? So to get receipt notice, you're looking at about 2 to 8 weeks to get that receipt notice. And then, it's a step, there are different stages in the process, but there's the biometrics, fingerprinting, that comes about 2 months after, 6 weeks to 2 months. Then there's the work permit. It's taking anywhere from 6 months to 12 months, the work permit with the travel document. Then there's an approval that's taking about a year and a half to be approved. And then you're looking at the interview for permanent residence. You add another 6 months to that. Is actively reviewing a good sign? Sure, it's a typical thing. So it doesn't mean that you're going to be approved, doesn't mean you're going to be denied. It just means that it's basically sitting there waiting to be approved. What if you already have a work permit? So if you already have the work permit, the way that we work, and I'm glad you brought this up, Perfectly Flawed, because when you already have everything in place, but you want to now move to a VAWA application, you can do that as long as your work permit is still valid, your adjustment of status is still valid. What I do is, if a client is in a bad situation, they're being mistreated, and now they come to me and say, listen, the spouse isn't cooperating anymore, or they're threatening to cancel the process, I say, no problem. We'll transfer everything over to your new petition, and you get to continue to work on that work permit, get to continue doing everything as you were before, except now this is your process. This is not dependent on your spouse. So if you want to switch your process, as long as you're being mistreated and you qualify for this, you can do that. Can you apply for cancellation of removal on the basis that you have a child that is born here? So not only on that basis, that's one of the requirements. However, there is a lot more to that. You do have to show that you've been in the United States for a certain period of time. You have to show that you are a person of good moral character. You have to show your background. And of course, the circumstances surrounding your presence in the United States is also going to be play into this. So it's not just about having the child. That's one aspect of it, but it's not the determining factor. Okay, so the marriage took place after a child's 18th birthday. So does this mean the mother would have to file for the child after? Yes. So exactly. So there are two requirements, which I said before, and that's the that your child would have had to be under 18 at the time that you were married. So if they weren't, that means they don't qualify as a stepchild. And you're welcome, perfectly flawed. So you have to be, so with the mother, she has to be a permanent resident in order to file. And that now, as a permanent resident, you have to then look at the child's age. Is a child under 21 or over 21? If they're 21 or over, that's a 6 to 7 year process. If they're under 21, then it's still moving at a good timeline. So you would still then be able to, if you can file for them before they turn 21, there is a chance that they could get through faster. What do they normally ask for in a request for initial evidence? It differs. So we call it an RFE, but RFEs are sent out when something is missing. But remember, immigration, the process, your applications, what you've done in your application is not a one size fits all. So RFEs can be, something as simple as we need a copy of your birth certificate. You didn't include it, or we don't have it. Or it could be as complex as, well, we don't believe you qualify because of this. We need you to explain and present more evidence to show this. So the nature of the question is going to depend on what is happening in the application, what's in the application, what's missing from the application, whether or not the officer believes you qualify. And now they're giving you an opportunity to present more evidence. So I think if you really want legal advice, Cassie Fabulous, go ahead and schedule that consultation, because you're getting really, really specific and it's hard to follow on what you're saying. As usual, remember that this is general information, and so when you get really specific, it's hard to be able to articulate all the options that are available to you, how you should do it, what options you should pursue. So go ahead, schedule that appointment, and we can definitely talk about the age of your child, and whether after you obtain permanent residence, when can you file for them. But I would have to really know the details here. Now you can go ahead. Okay, great. Awesome. So I'm looking forward to speaking with you. And the way that you can do that for anyone who wants to schedule is to go to the link in the profile. You'll get everything you need to go ahead and schedule your appointment. You'll see the link to the website. That there you have the phone number, you have online chat, you have the contact form. You can schedule your own appointment that may be very convenient for you. You can go ahead and do that by clicking on that button that says schedule your own appointment. So many different ways to go ahead and do that. All right, so I don't see any more questions. I'm going to head out. Thank you for joining me on Instagram as usual, and thank you for joining me on YouTube and Facebook. So I see here, I am Mr. Bogle. USCIS requested a co-sponsor for affidavit of support. Does that affect processing of the EAD? So no, not usually. It does not. There are two different applications. So while you're still you probably will get the work permit. I don't know when, in you particular, but some people get the work permit while they're also dealing with a request for evidence. Can a person be on unemployment and file for a spouse? Yes, but keep in mind that if you're on unemployment, you'll need to go ahead and you have to make sure that you can have a co-sponsor that can afford to show that they have the sufficient income to support you as the immigrant who's getting permanent residence. So that's a requirement. So if they have unemployment, and then it's a matter of are they making sufficient income? Can they show that they can continue to afford supporting you? Sometimes that may involve including assets, or other types of investments to show that there is money there or income to be able to provide. So Cassie Fabulous, I don't have the link right now, but there is the link on the profile page. So if you go to my profile page, you'll see that link and it will take you straight to book your appointment. All right. So thanks everyone for your time today. I will be back tomorrow to be able to speak with you, give you a good topic. Now, once again, go to the homepage on Instagram and you will see the link to be able to schedule your own appointment. Go ahead, do that, and I will look forward to advise you. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye bye.